back to Finn vs. History. As ever, I'm joined by Horatio Gould. Today we're talking about the Lord of the Mongols, Genghis Khan.
Don't call him that. It's very rude.
Sorry. It's a curse.
I went to school with someone who we called Lord of the Mongols.
There was a whole class of them at my school. Genghis Khan, 800 years ago, the last time Mongolia was culturally relevant at all.
It's almost Greek levels how much they've rested on their laurels, these guys.
They've done literally nothing since killing 10% of the world's population.
Yeah. This second part is going to be quite a vague run through because otherwise it's so easy to get...
The last one was far too detailed.
It's so easy to get bogged down in cultures and tribes that don't exist anymore. And again, it's all very similar.
I repeat, this is essentially Westeros. Mongolia is not really a real place in the way that we understand it.
In your imagination, of course, it's
not.
In
the way that we'd understand it, it's not really a real place. There's no cities or I mean,
Borat's the only thing you're holding on to.
It's basically it's between Borat and China. Is this country that's essentially the Asian Wales?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's if you're wondering how Mongolian, I mean, you just did an example of Mongolian throat singing. Whereas I would say, "Are you all right? Are you choking?" A Mongolian person would cry at how beautiful that was.
Right. And then I would also, if I had someone say that, I would say that's definitely Lord of the Mongols right there.
Yeah, that guy's Lord of the Mongols. He's a real mouth breather.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering where Mongolia is, it's in between Yetsumesh and Shisha.
And he's very good, mate.
He's very good. So I mean, you can get a sense of how. I've got no idea how what a stereotypical Mongolian accent would even be.
Yeah. And this is why you feel
I'm at sea.
You seem less, confident. You feel nervous and skittish.
I'm sweating. I don't know. What do I call these people?
To place this in time, so we've ended the last episode with him basically uniting the Mongol tribes. There's loads of stuff that happens, but they're all tribes that we haven't heard of, and he unites them not only by being a great leader, but just his whole way of doing things is completely different. He bins the caste system, the kinship rules. Whenever he captures a new tribe, he executes all the nobles and basically says to the peasantry or the common people, you can basically join me if you want, or I'll kill you, I guess.
So it's not really a choice.
Yeah, I guess it's not much of a choice.
Wouldn't say it's a progressive genius.
But he gives them rights as sort of like citizens of the Mongols in the early stages. So he does give them a good deal, and that's how he grows to become... and so from this small area that was where the Mongol tribes came from, now kind of what modern Mongolia is, he has united.
That shining city on the hill, modern Mongolia, of which we all go.
But to places, this is about 1206.
Yeah, so what's happening
and
in the world?
He's just been declared Genghis Khan. His name's Temujin, but he's now been declared Genghis Khan, which means universal ruler, even though that universe at this time is just modern-day Mongolia.
Yep. So 1206.
All right. So it's after the invention of the hat.
Yes, the Mongols are wearing hats.
But this is a risky one.
Oh, okay.
Literally just before the invention of the glasses. Tight one.
We've had glasses before.
We have had glasses before.
And no, because glasses were around they weren't around in the First Crusade.
Yes.
Fuck.
Just. Okay. So it's 80 years before the invention of the glasses.
Although what I will say is the invention of the glasses, there's got to be a lag before that reaches Mongolia. These guys haven't invented cities yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so exactly. So glasses won't come
Charlie, when were glasses invented in Mongolia?
And also, they're kind of like, maybe Mongolians are maybe the least nerdy, one of the least nerdy cultures in the world. Like as far from glasses as you could possibly get.
If they saw someone with God spare the first person that walked into Mongolia wearing glasses.
Yeah, because none of these guys are getting wedgied. These guys are purely the wedgiers, right?
Yes,
culturally,
exactly,
they are as far on the spectrum of to be wedgied.
Genghis Khan has wedgied more people in history than have ever been wedged.
Who's the most wedgeable culture? In a historical sense.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, because if Mongols on one end.
Who's the most? Excuse me, as a culture, you mean?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, you'd have to say it's parts of Victorian Britain.
I was thinking Britain.
Yeah, because you've got a lot of people nosing around in places they shouldn't.
Yeah. I think you'll find. Yeah.
I mean, modern day China and India have a lot of that, I think.
Yeah,
India's quite
wedgeable. Yeah, I'd like to wedgie some Indians.
Canada, modern day Canada.
Oh,
Canada's
Canada's a one big wedgie. Yeah.
New Zealand are begging for a wedgie.
Yeah. New Zealand have not got a bum crack just of how hard they've been wedgied. Yeah. I guess Mongolia in the 13th century is the polar opposite to present day Canada.
Do you remember when Trudeau corrected this was like, I think this is the zenith of wokeness. You know, it feels like a lot of the stuff's coming back now, but maybe if we look back at the mountaintop was maybe around 2015, just before Brexit, when Trudeau was having this kind of, I don't know, he was doing some sort of speech to uni students. Have you seen this?
No. This is pre-Trudeau blackface?
This is before it came out.
Yeah.
Is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look
we like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind, because it's more inclusive.
There we go, exactly.
The absolute stones of this guy to do that when he knows he's blacked up in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you make those kind of swings when you know there's photos of you in not even like a bit blackface, like big blackface, shoe polish blackface, like minstrel stuff.
What I loved about the blackface of Trudeau is one came out and he was like, look, it was a mistake. It was a one-time thing. It was Halloween.
I smoked marijuana.
It was Halloween when I was like 18. It was a different time.
Yeah.
And then like 3 or 4 separate occasions.
Oh man, it's so bad. I've just seen. I hadn't actually seen it in colour. That one's so. Hands
doesn't
as well.
look like anyone else is doing it. It's not like that was part of the.
No one else is doing it. He's done his hands. I think that's when you can say.
But also, it's Arabian Nights, and he hasn't gone brown. He's gone shoe polish black.
No, hang on. What is that? That's him with some guys in turbans.
What are they doing? Brown face?
No, I think they're Indian. I think they're Indian. Oh dear.
Yeah. Historically, Trudeau is. You know, as far away from Genghis Khan as you can get.
Let's remove the morality for a second.
Yeah.
You've got to say it's one of the most complete blackfaces you'll ever see.
Yeah.
In terms of as blacking up goes.
4 hours in the makeup chair.
You'd go
time lapse.
Yeah, you'd go Matt Lucas, the goat of blacking up.
Yeah.
Matt Lucas. Yeah. Then you'd probably go Trudeau.
Yeah.
Then what's he called? Mickey Rooney.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny how Come Fly With Me is 2010.
Yeah, but there's this amazing video which maybe they take them off the internet. You know when they do like slightly smug promotional content for a film or something about how long you've been in the makeup chair. That's like a classic thing. Yeah. If like the Orcs and Lord of the Rings, it will show it's been 8 hours in the makeup chair and there's that time lapse. Yeah. And it's nearly always to do with the promotion of the film. They did that for Matt Lucas's blackface. Now, people in the media being accused of blackface is nearly always trying to hide it. You're trying to scrub all those pictures off. Yep. You know, even the Trudeau blackface, that is a grainy black and white photo, you know, of his blackface. The fact that in 2012, when was Comply With Me? 2013?
Yes.
It's there is a 4K, well-edited time lapse of him slowly doing something that probably should have ended his career.
But do you know what it is though? I guess it's the production value. I guess blackface with production value is more acceptable than DIY blackface.
Well, is it much like when you did accurate Chinese accents from different, splitting between Korean, Japanese, Chinese, if it was less racist because you weren't just throwing a blanket over the whole region, you know?
Well, that was more of a exploration of phonics.
Sure.
Your Honour, if I might plead the phonics card. I think the idea about Trudeau blacking up is that he's done it himself. Yeah. And he's done it comprehensively.
Yeah.
He
doesn't have a team doing it.
No. He's shoe polished his face and his hands. Yeah. And he's Prime Minister of Canada. And then he's saying people-splain.
Yeah.
I mean,
people kind.
People-splain is funny. Stop mansplaining. People-splain. Yeah, because surely people-kind, mankind, that then goes for everything. People spreading. Yeah. Please close your legs, love.
Yeah.
Stop women spreading.
Oh, that's just great. You can just get a great selection of Trudeau. Yeah. It was just a great time.
Trudeau's the high watermark of woke politics. Yeah. Right?
But him at the front of like a climate change rally. And it's like, if the Prime Minister's leading the governmental rallies, something's gone wrong. You're in charge, lad.
You should be the one that they're rallying to. They're walking to you to tell you to do something. And that's a really conniving trick. I'm at the front of the rally. I
now
support
it's
this.
like, well, who are we doing?
Well, then fucking do something about it, you plonker. So anyway,
that's probably why there's no good Canadian drill. Do you know the music genre of drill?
Yes, I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm listening to it in the car.
I do think for all of the problems the UK has, the certain set of circumstances, the inequality does mean that you have a good drill culture. You know,
yes.
you can do
it's one of the upsides.
Yeah, and I think in places like Canada and New Zealand, that you'd struggle to get good drill music videos out of those scenes. Do you know
I'd say the music in New Zealand...
You need to have a lot of racial and class tension.
There is a bit of racial tension in New Zealand with the Maori.
Yes, but a lot... Like New Zealand and Canada probably being the wokest countries, because of the comprehensiveness of their genocides.
Yes, yeah.
It means that they can be.
They're robust.
But even what Canada's finding now is like... with all this Trump stuff, they just have no identity. That's because they are just like another America.
Yes,
right?
They've always been that though.
Or a mix between America with a bit more British. They grew up on a bit more British TV.
Yeah,
they know what Postman Pat is.
Yeah,
but that's not enough to hang an identity on.
No,
do you know what I mean? Which I think Canada should just make themselves really distinct from America. You know, I don't know how, but just like it's like when you go to Birmingham, right? And in the bull ring, they've put Peaky Blinders outfits on the bull in the bull ring. Oh. And it's like, this is as close to an identity as you've got. It's Peaky Blinders. Yeah. Right? There's nothing else.
No, because you've got Villa and you've got Birmingham, which is the most beige of all football clubs. Yeah.
But anyway, this is not Finn versus
Canada.
Canada
is very much the Birmingham of the planet. Yeah. So Justin Trudeau is the opposite of Genghis Khan, as who we're saying. Now, he becomes Lord of the Mongols, which now you wouldn't say that nowadays. No. You'd say that he runs the Sunshine Bus. So Genghis Khan is driving the Sunshine Bus. Mm-hmm. He becomes Lord of the Mongols 1206. Yeah. And then he
invades so many different places. The Jin dynasty of northern China is the big one. China at the time are the most sophisticated and powerful country in the world, probably. It's where the most pioneers of technology, science, culture.
And it's interesting. One of the facts I did actually manage to hang on to in this impenetrable sea of gibberish is that if gunpowder is very nearly being invented at this point. If gunpowder had been any earlier, the Mongol Empire may not have happened. Yeah, because we'll get into this, I imagine, in this episode. But the reason the Mongols are so deadly is that they've got fucking loads of horses and a composite bow. Yeah, gunpowder's invented. It's definitely not the 9th century. I mean.
But it's interesting that they were initially seeking the elixir of life, but they're selling that as like when Fleming discovered penicillin. Because he'd left a mouldy sandwich out. Yeah. They're like, someone's on the quest for the elixir of life and they discover gunpowder.
That's
what they were saying. They just said that.
They said they were searching for the elixir of life and
they accidentally found
the main cause of death for the last 1,000 years. Yeah. Earliest documented gunpowder in what we now consider a gun was 1288.
Was in the Mongol-held Manchuria, yeah. So
like 80 years earlier, the Mongols may not have done what they do now.
Mongols were here for a good time, not a long time, and you'll see this with their empire, right? It burnt quick.
They have a good time.
They have a fucking
good time.
And then they retreat back into being what Mongolia is now, and they just go, I'm fucking exhausted, I'm going to sleep for... Well, they're doing a bit of that as well. So they never stop doing that. Yeah. So China is this really complicated, sophisticated culture, but they get wiped away by the horse riding, terrifying Mongols. And a lot of the things that come through is that the Mongols have united, and Genghis Khan is a great uniting force in a way. And a lot of their enemies, the big mistake, the reason why the Mongols never really get defeated in this 200-year period is that the infighting between the places that they're invading, they are just happy to see their neighbor get fucked. Right. And they never put 2 and 2 together that if they united against the Mongolians, it would stop them. Right. It was more like, it's always just they're brilliant. It's your it's seeing it like, I don't know, your neighbour's shed fall down or something. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that the Mongols are destroying your neighbour, they're like, brilliant. I always hated those cunts. It's not thinking about what it might come to me.
It's more the neighbourhood WhatsApp group. Yeah. And when you start a new WhatsApp group to say, aren't them at 54 are fucking idiots, aren't they? Always talking about the pub quiz or whatever. And then you don't realise that they're probably bitching about
you don't realise
how smelly your bins are.
Exactly, and it's a lot of hubris.
Our rubbish bin. I mean, our rubbish bin gets collected fortnightly, which I think is a disgrace. Right. Given that we're a family of 4 and there are nappies involved. Yeah. And recently, in one of the last storms, the lid blew off the black bin. So essentially, our front garden's an open sewer.
Yeah. It's like, an aggressive Bobby Sands.
We have Bobby Sands as our black bin. I can only imagine what people on the street are saying about us.
Yeah.
This is probably think we're disgusting.
What fucking flinging
fling shitty nappy. We do fling them out the window into the. Well, it does mean now that at least you can change a nappy in the top floor, and then you can out the bedroom window you can hurl a bagged nappy.
Have you getting better? Your arms getting better?
My 3-pointers are going up.
Right.
I need some good 3-pointers. Anyway, so he invades China,
and
or a bit of China.
They're, in the field, they're great. But what they struggle with is when they come against cities with walls. All they can do is starve them out, right? Because they're just on horseback. And this is when they kind of learn to become one of the most devastating siege forces in the world of all time, in some people would say. Like a really nerdy podcast where I think Dan Carlin went on The Rest is History, right? To have an autism of. Yeah. They were talking about like, who would you least like to get sieged by? And the 3 big ones were the Assyrians, Romans, and the Mongols. And I think the Mongols were the
Who would
worst.
you least like to get sieged by? And every pussy in the country just dries up immediately.
Yeah.
Top 3 worst sieges?
Every pussy gets starved out by an encirclement, much like these sieges.
Yeah.
Beijing's the biggest city in the world at this point, but it gets captured and destroyed by the Mongols. This seems to happen a lot. They destroy the Persians.
Now, is this... Because there was a thing I heard that was interesting where when is it Beijing, which at this point is the Jin capital, and it's called Zhongdu.
Zhongdu.
How would you pronounce it?
Zhongdu. I'd say that. Yeah.
Zhongdu.
The Zhongdus and Zhongdon'ts of this period.
The Zhongdus and Zhongdon'ts. Yeah. They kill so many people that the ground is greasy from human fat.
Yeah.
Is that this one?
I think that's probably the worst. Beijing's not the
one of the Chinese.
Worst.
One of the Chinese
Merv
ones.
Probably that was the worst.
Well, no, because that's Persia, isn't it? But in the Chinese
probably.
City,
I mean, anytime they massacre a city, it's pretty much like that.
Yeah, and they're just killing everyone in the city.
Yeah, basically, he seems to always give them an option to surrender.
And if you surrender, you don't get killed.
Yeah, but if you don't, he will kill every single one of you.
Yeah.
I mean, he does, for this period, he does try and get Mao numbers. I mean, Mao did it, he did a lot of like passive income massacring. Do you know what I mean? Like he had investment accounts where it was slowly accumulating deaths.
It's all offshore.
Yeah, where Genghis is out there getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, that's true.
So the Baghdad was actually by his sons and stuff, like the people after him. But Merv, which is once again a huge city of an empire that has come and gone, who no one's remembered, called the Khwarezmian Empire.
Potentially Shawarma Empire?
The Shawarma Empire.
Yeah, chicken shawarma.
Potentially 1.3 million people died, and the city has never recovered.
It's a shame.
So a lot of the reason why we don't know these cities is because they were like so fully leveled that they are gone from history.
They're also in the most pointless part of the world.
Now. But so I read the book The Silk Road by Peter Frankopan, which is one of my favorite history books. It basically recenters the world around this region. I mean, this was kind of when the Silk Roads, that central bit ended and the beginning of the Borat state started. It was because of Genghis Khan. But at this point, we're thick mouth breathers at this point. We're a backwater, you know. This is where all the biggest cities, the Silk Road all runs through here. So they're all rich on this huge trade that's going from east to west, and they're right in the middle.
What's the western end point of the Silk Road? Is it Ukraine?
It'd be China.
No, western.
It'd be, it'd actually be Venice and Genoa.
Right. So that's going from northern Italy.
That's the route that the Silk Road would enter into Europe. Right.
And the Silk Road is like caravans. By that I mean like camels and horses transporting silk from China. Right?
I mean, it's called the Silk Road, but it's all trade, right? It's all the sort. It's luxury goods that have basically exploded.
Chinese takeaway. That's the way you watch the map,
hats, like
the deliveries going through Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, whatever.
Yeah, and it's just these long routes of trade that spread ideas. It's how the Muslim empire, the ideas of that spread along the Silk Roads. And
am I right in thinking that when the Byzantine Empire falls in like the 1450s, and Constantinople falls.
To Mehmet, I think, Ottomans.
That then sort of cuts off the Silk Road, and that's what forces the Europeans to go west to try and get around.
Yes.
And that's why they discover the Americas.
And yeah, I mean, this is on the turning point. So this is obviously, when you think of Genghis Khan, you don't really think of the Middle Ages because it's...
I'm never thinking about Genghis Khan.
Yeah, you're never thinking
No.
But when you think of the Middle Ages, you think of...
I'm never thinking about that either.
An English guy with a shit haircut, right?
Yeah.
You don't really think about what's going on in Asia at the time.
Yeah.
But as we talked about in the First Crusade episode, Europeans are thickos.
Yep.
The golden age of Islam is happening.
Yep.
China's super sophisticated. We are so ahead of Europe. Because basically Genghis Khan and the Mongols acted as a forest fire.
Yeah.
It just ends the Islamic golden age. That ends probably because of Genghis Khan.
Yes.
Because his sons, or his, after him, his commanders destroy Baghdad, which is the center of Islamic learning. And they so comprehensively destroy that. Potentially 1 million people die there as well.
In Baghdad.
Yeah, and there's only like 5 cities in the world that have around that many people anyway. It's like the biggest city in Europe has like 30,000 people.
Yes.
1 million people are getting massacred. And the library at Baghdad gets destroyed, which was one of the biggest libraries that's ever been collected, and it's all burnt to the ground. So it is like these sport bro jocks destroying the nerds. He's going around on a giant wedgie tour. The Islamic Golden Age, these are scholars who have collected great libraries of all human kind of achievement and cerebral scrolls, right?
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of
Angry
bullies from an American high school film.
Frat bros.
Yeah, they're bad at school. They're good at playing football, but they see a guy with the glasses and they're wedging him. They're just going around doing that.
Yeah, because their dad's called You're So Gay, and they can't get over the fact that they've been bullied their entire childhood because they've got a gay dad, and then they're going and just obliterating everyone.
But it's said that basically because the Mongols cut the legs out from the Chinese Empire, the Islamic Golden Age, Persia, completely fuck up Persia, that's partly what gives Europe a
chance
huge
to
step
catch up.
Yeah.
Right.
Because Asia's just they're completely, taking their legs out from underneath them.
I see. Right.
But yeah, so it's the Silk Road that he kind of just the golden age of the Silk Road is ended because of him as well.
Now I do like the idea that a city's called Merv, as if it's some bloke from the West Country.
Merv?
All right, Merv.
Right, Merv?
Merv.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very exotic. The Siege of Merv sounds just like a farming incident, right?
Yeah, it sounds like Merv. There's been a burglar in Gloucestershire. Been a burglar in Gloucestershire, and Merv has got a gun, and he's barricaded his house.
It's like Raoul Moat.
Yeah, it's basically the Mongol Mal.
And he also destroys a city called Raoul Moat as well. He kills 1 million people there.
Yeah.
During the Mongol Conquest, the Khwarezmian Empire, which I think Shwarma Empire, which is a Persian empire. It's a new...
It's a Muslim Persian empire.
Yeah. The historical accounts contend that Merv's entire population...
Oh, hang on, what? Merv also formerly known as Alexandria? Is that the Great Library of Alexandria, or is that in Greece?
No, that's a different one.
Oh, Christ.
Because there's a lot of cities called Alexandria because he would just name loads of cities after himself.
Alexander the Great, was it? Right.
So there's Alexandria is in the Nile Delta.
So Alexander the Great called this one Alexandria, and then
he called another one Alexandria.
A guy called Merv dominated it, and they called it Merv.
Yeah. So part of the reason why the numbers are so big, even though the cities weren't that populated, is all the towns would gather inside the city walls, and then they'd just all be absolutely obliterated.
Now, the Shah Muhammad, who's the ruler of the Shawarma Empire. Yeah. Now, Shawarma Empire is not the kebab house at the bottom of my road. Yeah. It's a massive empire in northern Iran, Borat regions. Yeah. What they did with it, he went on the run. Right. When because the Mongols were like torching cities, and he was like, it was like Benny Hill. He was running away just at the last minute. Right. Yeah. When they did find him, what they do is, for his punishment and not surrendering, Genghis Khan melts down a load of silver. Yeah. And gets it to 1,000 degrees, like hot, and pours it into his mouth, his ears, his eyes, and his arse.
I wouldn't like that. Now, that might be one of the death methods that maybe never
feels good.
Yeah, because the normal Mongol way of killing like a leader of a foreign tribe is you would boil them in a massive pot, like a stew pot.
Lovely. Make a stock.
Yeah, but that's one of the methods where for a little bit it's a lovely bath.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
That's good. Stop it there. Now turn the flames off.
Yeah.
But I do think molten silver is never good at any point.
Not through the mouth. No.
If you're not surrendering...
Yeah.
I don't know how people haven't learned that you should surrender to Genghis Khan, basically. But it's a very similar story, all of these places. We don't know they exist because he destroyed them entirely.
So with in Nishapur, which is modern day Iran, Iran seems to get a lot of his shit. They attacked the city. They hurled fireballs. Again, because this is a fantasy novel, that might be a genuine fireball, like Hadouken. Hadouken. Hadouken's probably the name of a fit woman in Mongolia. Borta and Hadouken.
Yeah.
250,000 large stones at the defences. Nishapur falls, and then bloody house-to-house fighting ensued inside. So they get into the city, and then they literally just kill everyone. And then they behead everyone. And this is quite nice.
Yeah,
this is a nice touch. They organise the skulls into skulls for men, skulls for women, skulls for children.
Well, I feel that's a bit, I don't know, heteronormative. The idea
it is quite.
Yeah.
Again, Genghis...
Well, cis-normative, is it not?
It is quite cis-normative.
Yeah. So I think I'd put the people's skulls together in a non-binary pile.
Yeah. But again, Genghis Khan, his views on gender
are quite...
I don't think he'd get a job at The Guardian. I also think although weirdly, Mongolia, it's a big field.
Yeah.
So it is one big gender neutral toilet.
Fine.
Because you could just piss wherever you want.
Yeah. So also Genghis Khan, because this is becoming an empire, and he builds a capital in the middle of Mongolia. This capital is really bizarre, right? So obviously he needs a center for the power to run the whole empire from. Yeah. But he hates cities and loves tents.
So he thinks people in cities are like urban, disgusting rats, basically.
He thinks it's completely unhygienic and barbaric. Yeah. Even though he's shitting in a field.
He's shitting in a field, and he's drinking horse milk to get pissed.
Yeah, but I mean, you think you might potentially move out to the countryside at some point,
Yeah, I'm not moving to the fucking Mongolian steppe though.
So
Karakorum, which is what, in Afghanistan, is it?
No, that's the capital of the Mongolian Empire. It's in Mongolia, right?
Right.
So this place doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
It was a temporary, capital of the Mongolian Empire that he set up to be the seat of power.
Right.
So it was kind of a tent city with some semi-permanent buildings.
Like the tent city in LA?
Yeah,
I guess people.
So. And that's the centre of this empire.
Yeah.
Because it's off the beaten track, like the Silk Road doesn't go through it. He tries, and so do his sons and stuff, to force all the merchants to go through. It's like when we're trying to stop the monopoly of London in British TV. So they're moving headquarters.
They moved Channel 4 to Leeds.
Yeah. Right. And it's like, it just means everyone's having to get a train there.
Yeah, because everyone's like, well, I'm not moving to Leeds. I've got kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring my kids up in Leeds. I'm middle class here. Yeah.
So he because of the power of Genghis Khan while he's still alive, and the power of the Mongolian Empire, for about 100 years, it manages to just about
bend the roads
through there, and it still becomes like a sort of center. And he has this sophisticated postal system which is weird.
Oh yeah, he invents the post office
basically.
Yeah,
because how else are you going to keep the largest continuous land empire of all time around?
What we should also talk about is the actual reason that he was so effective. Yeah, which was that the Mongols were faster than anyone else because they would ride. Now I can't quite visualize this, but they would have 10 horses. Every person would have 5 horses, right? And they'd ride one.
Oh, and then as soon as one gets tired,
they'd hop on. Yeah. But then what I don't understand is what happens to that horse, because they're still riding. So I don't know where. There must be all the tired horses coming up from behind.
Is it?
And then what they do is they would...
does a horse tire far less quickly if you don't have someone on your back, though?
Maybe, I don't know. So they're riding a horse, right? And then...
no, Charlie, that's not a good Google. That's not a good Google.
Genghis can't have a favourite horse. So he's riding his horses. They're riding their horses, and there's 5... So there's 5 horses to every Mongol. Right. And then what they'd also do is they'd kill a horse when they got a bit too shit. Mm-hmm. And then they'd hang the meat on the horse all day so that it dried and it tenderized, so then they could basically eat jerky rather than having to light fires when they camped and give away their positions to the enemy.
So you're riding and you put raw meat under your saddle.
Sometimes they'd even just cut a vein in the horse and drink its blood and carry on.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like drinking petrol out of a car rather than stopping at a service station. Yeah. I'll just put a tube in the fuel tank and I'll just suck. I'm thirsty, so rather than stop, I'm going to just drink petrol.
But themes that are emerging through this podcast when people dominate, it's like either nerds taking it over with superior cultures, or it's mad cunts coming out of the woods who are just doing shit that no one would ever dream of doing.
These are the first like Rogan optimizers. In that, like, you're camping, you're traveling 10 miles a day.
High protein diet.
I've got 5 horses.
Yeah.
When I get tired, I kill it and eat it. You're getting drunk on beer. I'm drinking the fucking horse milk. Mm-hmm. Like, these guys are the first incarnation of some of the most boring podcasters in the world.
Yeah.
And they'd also do is when they were low, when they didn't have that many people in their army, they would hang like tree branches to their horses, so that their tails would thwack the branches in the dust, and it would create this huge dust cloud, which would make people overestimate their numbers and run away. Yeah,
truly terrifying. I think as far as an army I wouldn't want to face, I think these would be some of the most terrifying looking fellas as well. So it obviously it's clear why this empire ended. Like, it was never going to last that long. It's like a tent. It's been run through a tent city.
A stag do has to end at some point.
Yeah. And also because they don't have like a strong like civilizing mission clearly, or like a culture that they're trying to. They just kind of become the culture of the cities that they conquer.
But they also take people. They like basically, if you're like an artisan, if you can do something, then they take you in, right?
Yeah. It basically cannot maintain as this one huge thing. So after Genghis Khan dies, it sort of breaks into like 4 different parts. There's the Chinese part that becomes the Yuan dynasty, that becomes like one of the many dynasties of China, but it's with a Mongol noble line, basically. That's like 200 years in the Yuan dynasty. Ruled by Kublai Khan. You heard the name Kublai Khan?
No.
Okay.
I have a mortgage.
Yeah, fair enough. Then there's a Persian one called the Ilkhanate. Then there's the Golden Horde. Do you know about the Golden Horde? So that's the western side.
Isn't that
that's like Russia, Ukraine.
Russia. That's the Trump video, isn't it?
And from the Golden Horde comes the Black Death. Those people bring the Black Death with them.
Rats.
Yeah.
Right.
So not only have they already done all that shit, but they literally bring disease-filled rats.
There's a theory that the Mongols caused the Black Death, isn't there? Because because they're eating rodents.
Yeah. Well, it's also like their body's so different to the Europeans because of how they live. They're not going to get ill on the same things.
But they bring rodents to eat them. Yeah. So they bring when they come into Europe, they just they bring all their fruity shit.
So it's clear why that falls apart. But I do think the stands now are kind of quite funny.
Yeah. So the Borat countries, as they're known by me. Yeah. Kyrgyzstan. How many can you name?
Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Uzbekistan.
Is that a full house?
That might be a full house.
There's 7. You put an extra one in.
I added Pakistan. Oh.
Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
The term stan comes from Persian and means...
It doesn't mean massive fan.
No, it doesn't mean that. No,
it's not based off the Eminem song Stan.
No,
it doesn't feature Dido.
No, this is not a country full of people who love Tajiki, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. Is it a dip?
Yeah, the
Tadzhikistan.
Tzatziki,
yeah. I moved to Tadzhikistan, to be fair. I fucking love that shit.
Yeah. It's good shit.
Yeah. It's a bit like burta, but it's got cucumber in it.
So and it's hard to distinguish these guys, but so Uzbekistan has like cities like Samarkand, which are still like have amazing silk roads, like mosques and stuff.
And again, what's frustrating here is that you've got Afghans, Kazakhs, Uzbeks, Turks, Tajikis, and then Pakistanis. Yeah. You really have to say the full one with that one.
Do you think it's because we just don't have huge immigration from these countries that there's like the English racist hasn't come up with anything for them?
Well, they're Borats.
Because in Russia, all of the racism the active racism. Their big racism is against these guys.
Is it?
That's like the Russian thing. That's the anti-immigration.
So
thing.
if I met a Russian, that's how I'd get on with them.
Yeah, you'd start slagging off people from the stands.
These fuckers are mad, aren't they?
Yeah. So this is they shit on these guys all the time. That's kind of like because a lot of the immigration coming into Russia doing kind of low-level jobs are from these kind
But it's like trying to punch air, isn't it? Having to go at Tajikistan, like what is it? I saw a TikTok of a guy that went to one of these countries.
It was at the one entirely made of white marble, that city. Basically, one of the mad failed state rulers that no one's checking on because I guess they don't have enough resources to anyone to give a fuck about.
Yeah.
These guys are like just doing whatever the fuck they want and no one's talking about it. He rebuilt this whole city made of white marble and all the cars are like, I think one colour.
Yeah, you can only have a white Prius. That's it. Every car's an Uber.
And apparently like...
How do you catch an Uber in Ashgabat? What do you do?
They're just freeballing it.
Charlie, can you Google what life is like in Turkmenistan?
Yeah.
What top 10 things to do in Turkmenistan?
It's a ghost city as well. So because it's the way it's structured, there's not really any like... There's no centre.
Here we go. TripAdvisor, 10 best things to do in Turkmenistan.
Well, we're to see one of the white marble buildings, wasn't it?
Top attractions.
Oh, here we go. Oh my God.
There's a crater.
Okay, no, look at this. So,
Carpet museum. Absolutely.
Look, when I'm really tizzing out, I do spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time on Google Maps, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, on satellite view. I love going over these places because you find some absolutely insane stuff. Because this is the Soviet Union's backyard, these stands, right? So they already do a lot of fucked up shit in Russia. But the shit they were doing in the stands is crazy. So obviously in Mongolia, they're trying to get rid of the memory of Genghis Khan. They're like trying to make them become Soviets, which I think is hard. Like Mongolians, they don't feel like Soviets to me. But the Darvasa gas crater is like this continuous gas crater that I think has come from some sort of like gas leak type thing. You can basically just go around and it's like that forever.
What, it's just like a volcano?
Sort of. It's this crater that's always on fire.
So it's a gas plant that's on fire.
Yeah, just forever.
Okay.
Because it's releasing gas and it's just this permanent fire, right? Then there's the RLC. Have you heard about this? So due to like a poorly planned diversion of water, basically, one of the biggest seas in the world, the RLC, look how over
Fucking
20
hell.
years. Yeah. So you have like loads of these like empty like Soviet ships in that RLC that allow like just on like this salt bed,
just like abandoned ships.
Yeah, I found that just scrolling around, it looks fucked.
Sorry, so when you say you're scrolling around, are you just you just open up a tab, go on Google Maps?
When I'm on the phone to my mum, I need to stim with something.
I see.
So it's like Subway Surfer,
right? But you're just looking at like
satellite view. I'll just scroll through and just see if I find any weird shit. I found that gas crater. Saw this and then I looked into it, blew my mind. And they don't really talk. It's one of the worst ecological disasters of all time.
When I'm on the phone to my mum, I'm just looking up like list of Nazi war criminals and where they went and the rat line and stuff.
Yeah, the RSC's dramatic shrinkage is primarily due to the Soviet Union's unsustainable irrigation practices, specifically the diversion of the Amu Darya, Siri Darya rivers to support cotton farming in Central Asia's desert steppes. So they just completely fucked it and ended up...
We really need some kind of boring gong or bell. When you just read out the RLC shrinkage is due to the Soviet Union's unsustainable irrigation practices.
We need to get that gong in. We need that gong in right now.
We've got to get this gong.
Yeah. There's also... it might be Turkmenistan, but one of the insane rulers. Yeah. So Turkmenistan, I think, is the second most authoritarian country after North Korea.
Right.
But partly because it's second, people just don't really check into it in the same way. North Korea gets all the plaudits.
But also, like you say, North Korea's got nuclear weapons. It borders South Korea, big soft power.
I think one of the leaders has made himself into like a god, right? Yeah. Classic move for despots, right? Yeah. And they've made like a new like national Bible. And he's got this like, he built this huge statue of the book that he'd written. And it's like, there was like a loudspeaker of him reading it out. And this kind of like, this hologram, this giant book just turning pages as like he reads out his autobiography as the new
Well, so he made a book and then made it a hologram.
Made it, a huge hologram in the center of one of these cities.
Fucking hell.
As if it's like a Bible, right? But that's what they've become now. But at one point they were the center of the Silk Roads and some of those important cities in the world until Genghis and his Chads
So they basically just wedgied
all of this shit out of them.
They wedgie all of the Central Asia stands. They wedgie the Iranians, which you would not do now.
No, God no.
You'd get blown up if you wedged an Iranian now.
Even though they probably got monobrows, so I probably would be wedging them. At school.
Yeah, but yes, at school. I would not wedgie anyone in Iran.
No.
The women already look like they have been wedged.
Yeah. Luckily, You're So Gay didn't live to see the Iranian campaign because he would have been.
You're So Gay would not have survived in many countries up until about 1960. You're So Gay. If nowadays, I guess would be in Brighton or something like that. So Genghis Khan and his boys, and it is mainly boys. They wedgie everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They wedgie most of China. They wedgie Iran, Persia. Then Genghis Khan dies in August 2027.
An old man around all his family happily in bed, which is you wouldn't expect that for his life to end.
Well, that's not what I heard.
What?
I heard that he was out hunting and that he got bitten by a snake.
Right.
And then died.
But he died with his whole family around him. And the lesson is with like a...
Not his whole family. He's got a lot of
I guess so.
It's not like hundreds and hundreds of children or whatever. Oh, he's thrown from his horse. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now there is a...
He dies at 65 though. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it correct that after they got rid of the Shawarma boys...
Yeah.
Some of them...
The Shawarma brothers.
The Shawarma brothers. Yes,
very
please.
Good.
My friend, please. No, please stop raping and killing. The Mongols take a bit of their force off and they basically go through Ukraine, and at some point they get to the walls of Vienna, and they're about to go into Vienna and sack Vienna, and then Genghis Khan dies, or news of Genghis Khan's death, and
that's about as far as they get.
They go back. If that hadn't happened, if he died or they'd heard about him dying a few days later, they would have got into Vienna, sacked Vienna. I mean, what happens then?
No Freud.
No Hitler.
I want to fuck my mum.
No Hitler.
No Mozart.
Hitler would be Mongol.
Yeah.
Mong Hitler.
And he'd hate that.
He'd hate himself.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have opera.
No.
Which is every cloud.
Tell you what, worst city for a good drill scene is probably Vienna.
Vienna, arguably...
Viennese drill is probably the worst drill in the world.
Yep. Vienna has less going on than Turkmenistan, I think. There's less things to do in Vienna than there is Turkmenistan.
Yeah.
You hear Joe Rogan quite often go off about Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Because he's the
Alpha Chad.
He's the main Alpha Chad in that space. So there's all these stats about however many percentage
he's got the
of us,
most baby mamas of all time.
Yeah.
Real bad man.
He's a real bad man.
Real bad man.
What is it? Is it 30 million people are alive today with his DNA?
Yeah.
Real bad man. 30 million people. 30 million baby mothers. He's also supposedly, between 1200 and 1400, there was a dip in carbon emissions. And the only reason they think that is because Genghis Khan killed so many people.
Right, so he's an environmentalist.
Yeah, like he's in Greta's good books.
Yeah. It was Greta Thunberg if she got her act together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is it non-autistic Greta Thunberg?
If Greta Thunberg wasn't being held back, if she'd stayed in school a bit longer, then she could have united the.
And we'll finish with the burial place of Genghis Khan. So no one knows where that is.
No.
And the Soviets were actually looking for it to try and dig it up so no one could find it.
Yeah.
But no one could find it. It's probably near the mountain he was born. But it's said, and this is nearly definitely a myth, that they had 2,000 soldiers who would bury Genghis in a funeral procession, and then they were all killed.
Yeah.
By another load of soldiers, so that no one knew where he was buried.
But do you know that those soldiers are then also killed?
Yes, yeah.
And then the people that kill them, they kill themselves.
And then that's done. But couldn't you have the second load just kill themselves? Like, I feel the third load is...
Yeah, you'd be a bit annoyed if you were like...
Well, can't they just...
If we can kill ourselves, then why don't the first 2,000 kill themselves?
I'd be like, I genuinely have no idea where he's buried.
I promise. I'd be
loudly going, what, so is he like buried in like, I don't know, is he buried in like Ukraine or something?
Is it Ukraine? Is it that place?
Yeah,
is it
God,
Vienna?
I have no idea.
No. I've got famously, I don't even know where Mongolia is, really. And I live there. What is this place?
Right.
So everyone kills themselves.
Yeah.
But then, surely he's missed a trick there, because surely there's a mass grave right by his burial site.
Right, yeah.
Because if you're like, bury me here and then kill yourselves, and there's 2,000 of you,
Yeah.
then everyone's going to be like, where did those 2,000 people go?
He's probably quite buried quite near
Probably buried near that mass grave of people who buried him. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. You fucking idiot.
And on that, I think we'll end this 2-part series on Genghis Khan.
If you'd like a bonus episode that's about history that definitely happened, maybe, rather than allegedly fantasy novel of a country that we're still not clear definitely exists, please sign up to the Patreon, where for £3 a month you can become a truther, and you'll get early access to all the series first thing on a Monday morning, and you get a bonus episode on a Friday. I don't know what this week's will be. It will just be Horatio's solo throat singing masterpiece.
What, that solo throat singing? That sounds like I'm trying to sing myself. That's OnlyFans solo dad content.
Solo throat singing is something you can pay Bonnie Blue to do, probably. Anyway, either way, thanks so much for checking in. I've been Finn Taylor. That's been Horatio Gould, and we'll see you next time.